From Gannon University, it's the Edge Podcast. The Edge Podcast. It's the Edge Podcast. From the edge of Lake Erie and the edge of Pennsylvania comes the cutting edge of the student experience. It's the Edge Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Edge Podcast. I'm Teddy Rankin. I'm here with my new co-host, Alli Hess. How's it going, Alli?
Hi, Teddy. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. On this beautiful day in Erie, PA. Allie's a senior advertising major. Mm-hmm. She's going to be joining me on this new series we're embarking on with members of the president's staff. We're going to get to know them, and throughout the year, we're going to check in with them on all the cool stuff that's going on at Gannon. So, without further ado, here's our first guest, and we'll be checking in with them monthly. This is Dr. Walter Iwanenko. How's it going?
Great, Alli and Teddy. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
Of course. Thanks for being here. So our first question for you is about what's your position at Gannon and what do you do here? Just for those who don't know.
Yeah. That's what day it is. But my position, I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Gannon. So my job is the Chief Academic Officer. So I'm responsible for all of the academic programming here at Gannon, looking at the quality of the programs, trying to, when we develop new programs, how do we move those forward? And also making sure that I'm supporting our students, our staff, and our faculty.
Awesome. Alli?
So the next one, we kind of already start to get into it. We said, what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? It can be on campus. It can have to do with Gannon.
Oh boy. Well, I will. So here's a story. I'll tell you a couple things.
Okay, good.
One family related. And
one
maybe,
Gannon.
Maybe. It's work related, but not at Gannon. So
Okay.
So I have 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So years ago, my wife and I took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese. So, the great Chuck E. Cheese. And the kids were out playing, and my wife and I were getting something to eat. And so we're up at the counter and we're ordering. And next to the counter, there was this apple. It looked like an apple dessert pizza. So my wife's like, "Oh, they must be trying something new. Grab a piece and we'll try it." So I grabbed a piece of pizza and we go to our table, and we're eating, and I've got about half of this apple slice pizza thing down, and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't too bad." My wife didn't try anything yet. So all of a sudden I hear one of the workers at the counter go, "Oh my God, someone ate our display." I stopped. I had this apple in my mouth, and I'm hearing this. So my wife looks at me, and the other girl goes, "How long has that been out there? Like that's been there for days." And so I'm spitting this apple out, and I tell my wife, I go, "Why did you make me take this?" She's like, "I didn't make you take it." So I basically ate the Chuck E. Cheese apple display that could have been. I thought for sure I was gonna get sick.
Rotten,
yeah. So now when my wife tells me, why don't you try that?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna pass on."
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It could be the display.
That is so funny.
Yeah, so that was funny, and no one knew I ate it, so no one caught me, which is good.
I was gonna say that'd be real awkward.
It was good, yeah. I thought for sure I was getting sick, but I did. Funny thing, I ate the Chuck E. Cheese apple dessert display.
It's probably slightly worse than their actual pizza.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? When you got 3 little kids and taking Chuck E. Cheese and they're off playing, you get a chance to sit down and just eat. It was all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So
I think another just a life lesson. I used to be an occupational therapist, and I used to work in the trauma ICUs, surgical ICUs, burn unit, spinal cord injury unit, and I was dealing with a young man, and he was in a coma for a couple of weeks. He was a car accident victim. He was in his early 20s, and I was working with him. He started to come out of the coma, so it was my job to stand him up for the first time. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal. When you've been in bed on your back for a couple weeks, it's a big deal to stand for the first time. So I got him and I positioned him and I stood him up, and he was able to take a step. I had my hands on him, And he looked at me, and when you've been in bed for that long, gravity kind of took over, and I had my work clothes on, I had shoes, and so he lost it. So he lost his bowels, went all over my shoe. I held on to him for the first time, and so I'm saying it's funny because I looked at him and he looked at me. He goes, "Dude, I'm sorry." And I looked at him and I said, "Shit happens." So we're both laughing, but I think the lesson, what it really taught me is, in those times when things do not go poorly, you can't let go, and that's when people need you the most. Mm-hmm. So we laughed about it, and as we developed our relationship, it was always something that we brought up. Yeah. But it really taught me a good lesson. It's a humbling lesson, because that's when they need you, and you don't make a big deal about it. You laugh about it, and you move on. So I was able to put scrubs on and change my shoes. Good. Yeah, so that was kind of, didn't start out funny, but we ended up making it funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are some great stories.
Yeah.
Next thing I want to ask you, so through this series we're going to be talking about things around campus and all that business stuff, but for now we really just want to get to know you.
Sure.
So what are your favorite hobbies?
Hobbies, I'm not, like people might think if you're in this executive position you golf a lot. I really don't like golf. I'm a big sports fan. I played high school football and hockey and lacrosse and did some track.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a runner, so let's just get that right. But I did shot put and discus. So I'm a big sports fan, but I like the outdoors. So I like to fly fish, I like to hunt, I like to camp. So if I've got time, that's what you're gonna find me doing.
Awesome. How about favorite music?
Favorite music? Well, I'm a child of the 80s and early 90s, so I have to go back to some alternative rock. I like REM. There's a band that I love listening to, the Jeff Healey band, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Roadhouse. Have you ever seen the movie Roadhouse?
We're
child. I know, but he was a blind musician, and some great bluesy kind of music. I like Macy Gray. I like country. I like Colt Ford, which is a country artist, but he kind of has a little rapping maybe throws in there.
Oh, that's
I know.
Interesting.
But you asked me. I'm just
right.
I'm not hiding.
Good.
So I have kind of an eclectic music collection.
Yeah,
sounds
like it.
And you throw in some AC/DC in there and some other rock, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Good. How about favorite movies? Last of the favorites.
Oh, I like the action movies. I like Gladiator and 300 and The Patriot and the Marvel movies, but I also like the fun side. You gotta throw some Billy Madison in.
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber and Ricky Bobby, because you ain't first, you're last. So again, kind of a cross between some comedy and adventure.
Yeah. Good. All right. So, what is something the Gannon community might not know about you?
Well, before I took the job here at Gannon, when I was in New York, my family and I, we had kind of had a little urban farming. So we had goats and chickens. And
That's awesome.
We actually had dairy goats, so we made our own cheese, and I know how to make goat soap. If that comes up at any time.
Goat soap.
Goat soap.
Never heard of that.
Use goat soap.
You gotta use goat soap. It's goat soap is awesome. But we did our own yogurt, so I really like to try those new adventures. So it really came down to, I really like goat cheese. So one day I came home and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna get goats and learn how to make cheese, and she said, no, you're not. And then she went to work, and I went and bought goats, and
you did it.
Because she said I couldn't do it, so we did it.
Sometimes you gotta just
gotta do it. So
but
so
she was
probably
happy.
She was good with it.
Good.
So we did that for years, but just probably something that you wouldn't expect. But,
Yeah. That's awesome.
So Gannon has a ton of activities and clubs and sports and stuff. So if you were a Gannon student, what do you think that you would be involved in?
I think I would be playing a lot of the club sports, just because that's what I would love to do. I know Gannon has the fishing club. I'd probably be all over that. And travel. the global and the
yes.
service, I would be all over that. When I look at the opportunities that students have here, I don't know where I would end up, but I'd be on some of those trips for sure.
Definitely.
So what would you say to someone who's considering coming to Gannon? Any advice or tips?
You know, I have to tell you what brought me here was the mission of the institution and the commitment to our Catholic identity and service. And you know, what I would tell people is you don't have to be Catholic to work here. You don't have to be Catholic to go here, but the mission and the values it's the way we go about business. And if that's something that you value, then Gannon would be the place for you because your personal values would line up with the values of the institution. The other thing I would tell people too is if you like the urban campus, this is the place to be because everything's walkable and you can get to where you want to go. Some students aren't interested in that urban feel, and that's fine, but here's the bottom line is when you graduate from Gannon, no matter where you work, you're going to be dealing with an urban environment. You're going to be walking, you're going to the way that we have public integrated throughout our campus, that's reality.
Yeah.
And so what a great place to start.
Yeah, very true. So what is some advice that you would give your past self?
Oh boy. My past self, you know, I took risks and they paid off and it kind of led me on my career path. So I would tell my past self, don't be afraid, you know, to take the risk, and go with your heart, and stick with what you think is right. I think there were times that I knew what I wanted to do with my heart, and I let too many other people influence me. I think I would tell my past self, stick with your heart, stick with what you think is right.
Definitely.
So, getting more specific with that stuff, what's the path that led you to Gannon? You know, what?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, I was a clinician, so I was in healthcare, and I started teaching a lab for one of the schools in Buffalo, and I really liked teaching. So I was doing that for about 2 years, and then that institution offered me a full-time teaching position. So that was my path that led into higher ed. But at the same time, I also, my wife was an OT. We had started up a company, and we specialized in pediatric home care, and we were growing that company. So I was teaching, I was working on my doctorate, we were starting a company. So I think that combination of having that academic experience and business experience really helped me to move into administration and what I do now. And I think being an OT was very helpful because I spend most of my time dealing with people. And that's, I think, not that I'm favoring OT, I don't want anybody to think OT, but I think that's a skill set that is really prominent in the profession.
Definitely.
Sure. Are there any new programs or exciting developments in academics at Gannon?
There's always new things happening
Yeah.
at Gannon. So very excited. Dr. Morrow and I, one of our other VPs, we were in Florida near our Ruskin campus last week, and we did get approval from Florida State Ed for a speech-language pathology program that we're going to be starting in Florida. So we won't be having students for another couple of years, but the process of starting that has begun, which is really exciting. Working with our engineering program right now on a new engineering degree in cybersecurity, which we're really excited.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to have that ready for next year.
Awesome.
A couple of the other really exciting adventures on the academic side. We've launched our Public Service Global Affairs, our School of Public Service Global Affairs in our College of Humanities and Education and Social Science. So we now have students coming into that major. We have changes with our Masters in Public Administration, which will be housed in the new School of Public Service Global Affairs. So really, really cool global approach to delivering that program. And then it looks like I'm going to have a trip scheduled to Greece in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Really
That is awesome.
It's exciting, and we're looking at a dual degree program with a sister institution in Greece probably, it looks like it's going to be really focused on environmental engineering, environmental science, by creating the opportunities for our students to actually study in Greece for a semester or a year and get a degree from our sister institution and also from Gannon. So really excited to work with the faculty and the administration there.
That's so cool.
That is really cool. I think that's one of the coolest things about Gannon is, really being part of the global community with all of our travel and, the sister institutions and having this new major, even all that stuff is just, a really cool approach to looking at the world and perspective and all that fun stuff.
Well, we can't do it without the great faculty and staff that we have.
Absolutely.
And we rely so much on their input when we pursue these new ventures.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. This has been a blast.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look forward to coming back.
Excited to have you back. Thanks so much.
All right.
Alrighty. Bye.